Realtor speaking. Yes, I can solve your sales problem. You know where my office is, at the Spaces, right? I'll see you there soon. I'm gonna have my coffee now. Bye.
Earning business. Going out there and grabbing the right attention. With effective engagement. Earning the relationship. Producing more sales. Increasing cash flow, multiplying annual revenue, producing higher profit margins, and a huge return on your investment capital.
How is your value? And is that value helping you increase your sales? Again, how is your value? And is your value increasing that it's allowing you to not only grow your business, but increasing your sales and growing your sales consistently? One of the things I've learned is people don't focus on continuing to increase their value. And it's important you do that, because guess what, guys? People like to pay and buy value. Why? Because value is different for everyone. And value is a perception of what you think that's worth to you or to them, right? So, welcome to the mindset and attitude to selling, because selling is a mindset and closing deals and building relationships is an attitude. It really is. One is the cause, the other one is the action or the effect of that action. Okay? Now, what you need to do to not only increase your value consistently, but having that value help you grow your sales consistently. Okay, does that make sense? Now, I'm always examining what I'm gonna share with you. I make a conscious effort to focus on these three things all the time. And these are basic fundamentals. Okay? Now, I want you to keep this in mind. These are very basic things. It may sound boring to you, but guess what? The most boring things are the most valuable things, especially in selling. Selling is easy, at least for me it is. But getting to that point is where the work is done. And selling is when the rubber meets the road. Okay? So now, what is the number one thing that I focus on and that I'm always being conscious of and examining to continue to improve? Okay? Now, I don't know if you can see that. What you need to do to increase your value and grow your sales. The number one thing that I've learned and that you need to learn is you have to change the way you think. Write that down. The way you think. Why is it that the way you think is the number one thing? Share your comments below. Let me know why you think. The number one reason why the way you think you have to change it, especially if you're a real estate agent, you're in any type of sales, no matter what you're selling, if you want to continue to grow and increase your value, and that value increasing and growing your sales, you have to change the way you think consistently. You have to reformat your mind. And only way you can do that is you have to be humble. You have to be open-minded and not thinking you know everything, no matter what level in sales you're at. I'm always doing that. And it has allowed me to become more successful and better at my craft than not doing that. You have to think differently. Why? Because your actions, your language is tied directly to the way you think and how you think. Because before you take action, before you do anything, you have to have a thought in your mind, right? And what that thought is and how you think about that thought is going to determine your action. And I'll give you an example. I train real estate agents, right? And I'm actually training and studying to get my own license as an agent. And one of the things I've learned speaking with over 1,000 agents nationwide the past year or so is that they don't examine the way they think about their profession. Most of them don't even know what they really do or what their value is. And if you don't know what your value is, how can you offer your value? How can you expect to produce more sales consistently? If you're not even conscious of it, if you're not even examining that, and that all comes from the way you think. Does that make sense? And how we use our minds through our thoughts is going to determine the actions we take, right? So you have to change the way you think. Don't ever think that you know everything. No matter how much money you're making, no matter how much possession you may have, no matter how much wealth you have, value and the way you think is priceless. That's something that cannot be taken away. But the ability to think and how you think is very difficult. Why? Because we're stubborn. Human nature doesn't like to change. And once you set in the way you think, it's harder to change that unless you're open-minded and are willing to learn. Does that make sense? Number 2 is you have to improve your selling process. Okay? I don't know if you can see that. Improve your selling process. One of the things I've learned is that people like to focus on the actual sale, right? Which is the end result. I call it the destination. But a lot of them don't consciously think about the selling process. Well, in order to have an effective selling process, you have to do a lot of thinking. And you have to do a lot of the right thinking. Does that make sense? And one of the things that I use that makes me consistent is what I call the straight line method to selling. And what that straight line method does for me, it allows me to stay focused on the selling process, not worrying about the actual sale, because the selling process is where I'm increasing my value. And that's where the sale is made or not. That's where the relationship is solidified or not. And that's what I mean. You got to change the way you think. Because if you're a salesperson, no matter what you're selling, whether it's real estate or anything else, you know your job is to sell, right? It's to produce sales. But you have to do the right selling. You have to have the right selling process. And the process has strategies, it has different things, but you have to have a selling process that keeps you focused on that straight line, because it's easy to get distracted, right? Just by an objection, you could be thrown off script, right? So you have to improve your selling process. What's number 3? This is so critical, but you can't do number 3. Well, you can do number 3, but it won't be the right way. The way you train and the way you prepare. The way you train and the way you prepare is going to determine how you're going to perform. Why? Because you can't perform different than the way you train. And you can't train and prepare a certain way unless you think that way. So a lot of salespeople get frustrated because they're not producing more sales. They always want to blame the leads or the prospect, or they make excuses. The reality is that they don't have the right selling process. Why? Because they don't have the right thinking. And they're not willing to change their thinking, or they're not being taught to change the way they think. Like a habit. If you got a bad habit and you want to get rid of it, well, if you get rid of it, you got to replace it with a good habit, right? If you're an alcoholic and you stop drinking, well, you got to replace that with something positive, right? So the way you train is the way you're going to perform. And that performance comes from, guess what, guys? The selling process. Because the selling process doesn't work if you're training and preparing one way and you're trying to use the selling process different. It's not going to work. And if you're using the selling process different, then the way you're thinking and how you're thinking is not going to work. What I mean by not work, you're going to be inconsistent. And that's where the problem comes. You start to use gimmicks and tricks, and you try to buy these platforms or these apps or these programs that don't make the improvement. They may produce you more sales, but that doesn't make you more valuable. Does that make sense? So you have to prepare and train the right way. For me personally, training people, training my salespeople, and cold calling every day is the best training and preparation I can have. And where does that come from? I'm always changing the way I see things. I'm always thinking, can I make improvements? How do I make improvements? What do I need to do to make the improvements? And why do I need to make the improvement? So what you need to do first is understand what you need to change and what you need to improve. Then you have to answer this question. Why do you need to do that? Well, why do you need to change the way you think? If you're struggling and you keep doing the same thing over and over and not getting consistent results, there's one or two things. Either you really suck and you're not good at it, or you need to change the way you think. Those are the two options. And it's not about the leads, it's not about the prospect, it's not about any of that. It's about you, the individual. It's about me taking responsibility, changing the way I think and how I think. And then once you do that, then you're going to build a stronger selling process based on that thinking. Because you change your language, you change your action. And then you're going to be able to prepare and train the right way. That's why I always have my salespeople, we practice every day before we get on the phone. We do role playing. It sounds crazy, it sounds corny, but it's something I've been using for a long time, and it works. There's certain things that no matter how much technology comes or how much technology is developed, there's certain things that don't get old, that are so basic, so fundamental, that all the other things just makes that much stronger. Like AI and all these other ways of getting prospects and leads. Those are just tools that I use to improve my value, to grow my sales, to help my clients grow their sales. Does that make sense? So again, the three things I recommend, this is something I do, because guess what? Everything you do, every result in your life, whether it's good, bad, or different, no matter what adverse situations you have, no matter what trials you may receive, whether it was because of you or not, no matter what challenges come your way, it all stems from the way we think, how we think.